All right, hello everybody. Today we are going to learn a game that I call Round It. To play this game, all you need is one die, six-sided die. And then you also need to make a place value chart. So if you're playing with two people, you just need to make one chart for both people. So both of you will be using the same chart. When you do make your chart, you need to make it have 7 places. And you can start with whichever place you want, but I decided to have decimal place value here. And I added the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths to the right side of the decimal. And then to the left side, I obviously have the ones, the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands. The most important thing you need to remember about this is you need 7 places. After you've drawn your chart, you do need to put a little number underneath each of the places. And I start with the least places, and you want to start with the second lowest place and put a number 1 there, and then go up to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. As your places get higher, you'll see why you need that in just a minute. So to play this game, it's very, very simple. All you've got to do is fill your place value chart. You're going to do this together as a partnership, and you don't need to roll your dice or draw cards for anything for this. You're just going to pick a number and pick a place to put it in. You're not trying to make it big, little, you're just putting digits in. So for instance, if I'm player 1 and I start, I'm going to say, okay, I am going to pick an 8 in the ones place. And then player 2 would say, all right, well then I'll pick a 7 in the hundreds place. Player 1 again, all right, I'm going to pick a 3 in the hundredths. And then you take turns just randomly putting numbers in your places until it's full. After you filled it, I always like to have my students say the number. So in this case, the number would say 9,758 and 437 thousandths. That's the proper way to say that decimal. Well, here's how you play. What you'll be doing is you'll be rolling your dice, or your die, I should say. That's the singular form of dice. You're going to get a number. That number is going to tell you which place you will be rounding to. And then when you each roll your die, you each round your number. Whoever has the highest number wins. So let's go ahead and practice this. I'll be player 1 to start out with. I'm going to roll that die. Okay, so I got a 2. So that 2 tells me I am going to be rounding this number to the 10th place. All right, now I'm going to pretend I'm player 1. I'm going to go ahead and write the number and then round it as I would. Okay, so I'm going to write the whole number, 9,758, 437 thousandths. Now it tells me, since I rolled a 2, I'm going to be rounding to the 10th place. Whenever I round, I underline the rounding place. And then I always draw an arrow to the digit that is to the right, because that digit to the right will tell my rounding place what to do. I call it the bossy number. And the rule, as you probably have learned in school, is that if you have a 5 or higher in that bossy number, it tells your rounding place to bump up, go up 1. If you have a 4 or less in that bossy number place, it tells your rounding place to just stay where it's at. Well, in this case, the 3 is, of course, 4 or less. So it tells this rounding place to stay right where it's at. Now I'm going to rewrite the number underneath. So my rounding place stays the same. Everything to the left always stays exactly the same. Everything to the right turns into zeros. And I always tell my students, if you have zeros at the end of decimals, you can erase them. So I rounded my number, and now it says 9,758 and 4/10. All right, now it's player 2's turn. I'm going to pretend I'm player 2. So player 2 is going to roll that dice. Player 2 got a 3. So that player is going to round that number to the ones place. I'm going to go ahead and round that number. I'm going to change color just so we can see a difference here. So I'm going to write that number again. 9,758 and 437 thousandths. And we said we were rounding to the number 3, so that is the ones place. I'm going to underline the ones place. I'm going to draw an arrow to my bossy number. That bossy number tells the 8 to stay right where it's at. So I'm going to rewrite that number. Stays the same. Everything to the left always stays the same. Everything to the right turns into zeros. But remember what I said, if you have zeros at the end of decimals, you can erase. So that player now has 9,758. So now we have to compare. Player 2 has 9,758. Player 1 has 9,758 and 4/10. So think about this. Who has the larger number? Well, if you thought player 1, you would be correct because it has that extra place that has 4/10 in it, whereas this number doesn't have any decimal place value. So player 1 is the higher number. Player 1 wins the round. Then what you can do is you can erase everything, including your numbers down. Oh, got rid of that. Including your numbers down here. Let's see if I can do this. Now you're ready to play again. And as you learn how to play this, you will not always have to write the places' names because hopefully you'll know them by heart, and you can just do a quick place value chart and then put the little numbers underneath to help you. So that's the quick and easy game called Round It. Again, all you need is a piece of paper with a place value chart and one die. Have fun playing, everybody.